This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen Stutz, a new documentary from director Jonah Hill, which is more like an extended interview, or maybe even a really long therapy session. I figure that's an appropriate assessment because the film focuses on Hill's therapist, Phil Stutz. Talking with him about his relatively unusual psychology tools and how it works out for his patients. Along the way, it opens up in more unexpected ways, not only as Stutz talks about his history and upbringing, but as Hill opens up about his own anxieties and fears, eventually talking about the creative process of the film itself. From the start, the movie makes it clear that it will definitely be an unconventional documentary. Indeed, closer to a conversation than a biography or something more informative about Stutz's methods. Those elements are still present, but they're mixed into the overall discussion rather than given outright focus. It isn't entirely presented as a natural conversation, though. Not only because of the film's production method, but also the general presentation of all of this information, running with a topic for several minutes before moving on to another topic block, and then another, and so on. It's easy enough to comprehend, of course, but it does take away a bit from what could have felt more like two friends talking with each other than a more professional back and forth. There's still plenty of personal moments to be found, most of all as Hill talks about how Stutz's methods have helped him reconcile with his self-image issues and the pressures of his celebrity status. It might lead some people to think that the documentary is self-indulgent because of this, especially since there are a few points where Hill basically repeats or rewords what Stutz is saying about a therapy tool. But I think it's fine, since it not only adds a patient's perspective to Stutz's methods, it also normalizes these topics of mental health by showing how they can or do affect people you might never expect to experience such problems. Hill even states outright that he wants to bring Stutz's tools to a larger audience through the film because of how much they've worked for him. So sharing his experiences in the past as well as during the filming of the movie help to illustrate how they can be used. Speaking of the filming, the technical side of the movie is a clear case of taking a step back to let what is being discussed have the major focus. It almost accomplishes this in the use of black and white visuals that put your focus on the conversation being held, though the lighting in these shots doesn't do much to bring out the characters, leaving their actual visual motion to carry that weight. There's also a lot of cutting between camera angles of the speakers, even within the same sentence, which can be disorienting since there isn't too much of a consistent flow between shots. Sound design is also a bit flawed, though mostly because audio cuts also end up having a bit of an edge, in the sense that you can almost outright hear where each sentence was cut up. Those two things are usually only present in faster-paced and informative segments, thankfully, and the rest of the film takes a more natural pacing, which I feel is where it really excels. There is a bit of a missed opportunity for some more expressive visuals when the movie reveals some production information that I won't get into because of spoilers, but I will say aren't ever really exploited until the very end of the film, which just makes me wish that there were some scenes that had used these methods to help visualize or emphasize the psychological tools being put to work. But again, with a focus on what is being discussed over what is being shown off, it's not too much of a stretch that this is the case. The end result is still clearly rooted in personal passions and gratefulness, and the movie wants to make that known rather than use it as a stepping stone for something else. It probably could have retained that touch even if it had been a bit flashier, but as it is, the point still gets through without any difficulty. At the end of the day, the movie really is a touching tribute to someone who has affected the lives of others, all for the better. And as long as that's made clear, any other sort of flair doesn't really need to happen. Stutz. Jonah Hill, 2022. 3.5 stars. I would say that it's worth giving a shot. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. With the time I've spent in here, I'm probably gonna need a lot of therapy if I ever get out. Then again, it probably still costs too much.